Hi, folks. Today we're talking with Agustin. He is the director of the upcoming action thriller Badge of Honor, which comes out on DVD February 2nd from Alchemy, and it stars Martin Sheen, Patrick Muldoon, Natasha Henstridge, and Mena Suvari. How are you today, Agustin?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, no, thank you for taking the time. This is James with Irish Film Critic.
Hi, James.
Badge of Honor tackles a very controversial subject, especially in light of today's tumultuous times here in the U.S. It talks about police and how many of them have each other's backs, even when they're in the wrong. And during the movie, after Officer Jessica Dawson, played by Mena Suvari, turns on her own partner for police brutality, she is shunned by her fellow officers and transferred out of her precinct. Was that your objective with the story?
Yes, it was my objective. I'm glad you caught on that. I mean, we just had 2 officers that got fired with that whole Lochlyn thing, the kid that got shot in Chicago.
Yeah.
All the other officers sort of seem to have covered up. I mean, it happens a lot. And at the end of the day, I really wanted to show that there are good officers. You know, I think the captain had good intentions, Martin Sheen's character, and I think Mena Suvari definitely is doing her job. And it was important. I talked to Martin about it a lot. You know, it was important to tell the story. And it was also important to see that this guy was making mistakes, but he had integrity. But there is an issue with cops, the stuff going to the head. And, you know, the story is based on my co-writer, Anthony Thorne, who came up, it's based on his father, who's a real narcotics undercover cop, who really did go astray. And Anthony was brave enough to tell the story of his dad. So we weren't making this up. It's funny because we made the movie, you know, and now it's so in the zeitgeist, right? The fact that this is in the limelight of police shootings happening. But when we were telling the story, it was based on true events.
Right.
So we weren't making it up. And I really did want to get that across. Like, you know, this is happening, and it's happening a lot. And I'm really glad that you know, the African American community is bringing light to it. But even as a Latino, it happens. And for any ethnicity, like when you give somebody power, they say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So these guys are a tight-knit group, and they, I mean, I think they got each other's back, you know. I experienced it in the military, and I've never been a cop, but from all the research we did, clearly from the press, you know, now it's really happening, and it really needs to be brought to light.
Right, and obviously, like you said, there are many upstanding police officers out there who genuinely love their jobs and who care about people, but they're dealing constantly with drugs, violence, danger, and at any moment they could be shot down for doing their job. And what I liked about Badge of Honor is how well it showed the balance between the 2 different types of cops, those with morals and principles and those without. As a writer and a director, is that really what you were striving for?
It is. And I even tried to do it a little bit within Lochlyn's character himself. I mean, we only see him do bad things, but I wanted to see his drinking. I wanted to see how his marriage was falling apart because of his job, and his past marriage was falling apart. And, you know, Martin talks to him about, hey, your father was a good cop, and kind of there were little moments where you could see this guy at one point really envisioned himself being a good guy. He really envisioned doing what cops are supposed to do and just went off the beaten path. He just went the wrong way. And it's like I can see somebody in that kind of job constantly dealing with that temptation or stress. Forget temptation. The fact that where's the lines are so blurred, you're in danger every day, like you said. And I did want to definitely show a contrast between Mena Suari's character and even between Jesse and David, Lochlyn and Jesse. Because like Mike and David, Mike gets embroiled in this thing almost by mistake, and he wants to call it in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he wants to call it in because it was a mistake. He was getting shot at the moment. He was chasing a guy. His adrenaline was pumping, and it could happen to anyone. But in that situation, what choice would any of us make when you're seeing your partner is like, no, you're not doing this, and you have a kid on the way? You want to hope that you make the right choice. But I think if I can sort of make people feel like, I don't know what I would do in that moment, you know, just a little bit of that. I want to think that I would do the right thing, but you never know.
Well, Martin Sheen, like you said, plays the police captain, and throughout the entire movie, I kind of had the feeling that you never knew if he was a good guy or a bad guy, because you see pictures of him with David, and it appears that they're close friends. And I loved how you played that angle, you know, the not knowing. And the more you get caught up in the story and the characters, the more you want to know who's good and who's bad. And the great thing is you never made it that clear cut. And I think too many movies today forget that aspect and end up telling the audience everything about everybody early on. Is that something you'd agree with?
Absolutely, I do agree with that. At least in my film, I can't comment on every movie, but on my movie, I spoke to Martin about that. Like, Martin knew when I spoke to Martin, I think his character knew something was off with this guy, and he's implicit in the crime because he looked away. That's not,
Right.
you don't spend that much time. You don't spend that much time in the police force and become a captain and not know something is rotten in Denver. The minute he got there, that's why he asked him so many times. That's why he asked him 3 and 4 times, like, "Hey, you sure? Are you sure?" And then he says to him in the bathroom, like, "Tell me the truth." Like, he could have pulled the plug on this guy a long time, but he's
Right.
been protecting him, right? Because he knew his father. So I think that's why at the end he resigned and he shakes Mena's hand, like he really dismissed her as just this cute girl in my office, you know? It's almost like a funny scene, but to me it's powerful because he's really being disrespectful to her, like, "Oh, you're so young, you're so cute, and you got a great ass," almost, right? Martin played it like that. But at the end, she's the good cop, and she's holding up the badge of honor, and he has to put his away. I think he knows he has to retire early because he's implicit in these crimes. And does that mean he's a bad guy? I mean, he might have had a stellar career and been a good guy his whole life and think he was doing the right thing, but I think he knew. So you're right. It's not cut and dry, you know. I think he knew that.
Well, as an indie filmmaker myself for over 30 years, I know the sense of satisfaction that comes from writing a script, shooting the film, and then editing it all together. Did Badge of Honor pretty much stay true to the original vision you guys had from the beginning?
I have to say yes, pretty much, because you're a filmmaker and you know that, you know, there's always a divide between what you want and what you get.
Right.
You know, there's just realities of budget and realities of time, and you know, there is a director's cut and then there's a producer's cut. So, but I have to say that pretty much yeah, because again, I'm really proud of the work Lochlyn did. You know,
Yes.
I think he really dove in and tried to really. He didn't care about looking good in this character. You know, he kind of Sean Penned it, right? Where he was like,
Right.
I don't mind being dirty, I don't mind being ugly. He's a guy who's known for comedy, right? He's known for white chicks. And he puts his whole career as a funny, nice guy on the line, so he come and fuck some hooker in a sleazy motel. Like that to me, that's kind of brave for an actor to do. You know, he's doing Family, he's doing Tomorrowland with Clooney, and over here he's like, "Okay, Agustin, I don't know you, you're a new filmmaker, but I'll get naked with a hooker and trust that it's going to come out." So I'm proud of him for doing that. And to that extent, to your question, and yeah, I mean, you know, I got to play with limited resources, but my producers helped me get very, very close to the vision I wanted. And as far as editing, man, I got to shout out to Scott Smith because, you know, this guy did To Live and Die in L.A. You know, his father is Oscar winner nominated editor. They've done everything from Exorcism to The Karate Kid, and told me that the editor from To Live and Die in L.A. was going to edit my movie. I was like, holy shit, I just shot with Martin Sheen. Now I'm going to edit with the guy from To Live and Die. Like, how did this happen? I'm in Bizarro world, right? So we're from the Bronx, and this is how it goes. Yeah, it stayed true, but it also morphed into its own vision, and some things are better and some things are worse, but I'm proud of it, man. We finished it, and it's fantastic, and I'm proud of the actors. It's his own little animal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not exactly how I envisioned it, but it's its own thing.
Well, the movie itself, as we said, has a lot of actors throughout. I have Martin Sheen, Patrick Muldoon, Natasha Henstridge, Mena Suvari, and Haley Duff. I mean, for you, what was it like working with all of these names?
Man, you know, I was really... I'll tell a story. You know, there was a time, I think the whole first day I didn't give Martin any notes because it's Martin Sheen, right? It's Apocalypse Now. It's Martin Sheen, right?
Right.
It's Martin Sheen. And I remember there was one time when he and Mena are like walking and they're talking and he said something and I had a note and I was like, Mr. Sheen, why don't we try this? And like the whole set just stopped. Like, is this guy giving Martin a note? You know what I mean? Everybody just shut the hell up. And he turned and looked at me, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna chew me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he like looked at me for a minute. He's like, I think you might be right, kid. I'm gonna try that. And I was like, oh shit! I just directed Martin Sheen. I just gave him a note. And like, to be honest, all the actors are great. They all really came. I told someone else that Mena, on her first day, did her own stunts with her big rape scene the first day. So they were all really, really great partners in a very difficult shoot because we had no money. But I think that day, which was like third day on the set, when Martin sort of said, okay, I'm going to take a note from you. And you know, he might have done it because he really thought I was right, or he might have done it because he had my back. Because Martin is that kind of guy I found throughout the shoot. He's just amazing. That when Martin sort of said, okay, Agustin, you're directing, like everybody like fell in line. You know, there was never any pushback from anybody, but it was like, okay, guys, you know, we're here to make this guy, and he has a vision, let's go. And it really became, I guess the only regret is I didn't have more time with them. You know, I didn't have more time with them because by the time we were ready to wrap, you know, 4 weeks in, you know, an indie movie, we were really gelling. And I remember Jesse Bradford came to me and was like, dude, you did a really good job with it. And Mena, like, it's like that kind of stuff. These are people who've been in the pilot seat for a long time.
Right.
You know, people, Lochlyn, we talk about Lochlyn doing comedy, but he was also in Unforgiven being directed by Clint Eastwood, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so when he called me aside and goes, Agustin, how do I do this? Help me with the scene. I'm like, these guys have been playing, and I'm just coming in new. And it was an education, and it was also a beautiful opportunity. It was great, man. It was a really great experience to learn and to get better. And I think as part of that I'm a badge, the best thing about badge is that I really learned so much from all these guys that are so much more experienced than I am, that my next movie is going to be ridiculous because of it,
Right. Okay, well, folks, today we talked with Agustin, the co-writer and director of the new thriller Badge of Honor, starring Martin Sheen, Natasha Henstridge, and Patrick Muldoon, which hits DVD February 2nd from Alchemy. Agustin, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we get to chat again on future movies, and good luck tonight with your other screening.
Oh, thank you, James, man. It was awesome talking to you. Yeah, let's definitely do it again.